Okay, so the main thing I want to ask you is that this is the first time in the series that you're introducing a brand new engine. Can you tell me a bit about how that will affect the game?
Absolutely, yeah. So Assassin's Creed is all about a huge, large-scale environment, open world, and you can interact with as many things as possible. There's a main story, but you can also trigger side missions and side quests to make it really a living and breathing world. So the new engine called Next is really about these large-scale environments. What you observed probably with the Frontier demo is an amazing large landscape with tree climbing, with navigation through that, different weather patterns. You saw the winter and walking through the snow. And all these are possible with all the crowd and the life inside this world with this new engine.
Yeah, because in the previous Assassin's Creed games, the areas between the cities were kind of limited. You couldn't really do that much in those areas. Will it be more of a integrated part of the game experience this time around?
Yes, I think what we are trying to introduce in the fresh aspect of it is not just cities. So we're going to have great cities, and in particular Boston and New York, that are reproduced as close as possible as what these cities look like in 18th century America. So you will recognize landmarks and so on. The crowd will be more and more dynamic, more diverse type of interactions with animals, with the different mission givers. But what's really new is the Frontier, a new climbing system, and also you probably saw the naval demo. So lots of new ideas, lots of features and things to discover as you're going to go through the main story of the game.
And speaking of the story, I mean, the story is moving towards, sort of a climatic ending. How far away are we from the end there? Will there be like Assassin's Creed with several expansions, or is this like the final game?
Well, right now our new hero called Connor is going to go through, this war against the Templar through the American Revolution. So that's our new setup. The game is going to happen across 30 years of this period, before, during, and after the revolution. And I think we leave open to the fans of what's going to happen during these 30 years and what's next to come.
Okay, and we haven't seen anything of Desmond yet. What's to become of him in this game?
Well, this is also part of the fantasy that we cannot necessarily reveal. But there's a lot happening, and you definitely need to play it to see what's going on.
Okay, and also you're making the Vita game with a female assassin. How will that integrate into the Assassin's Creed 3 experience?
So the Vita is happening in New Orleans. It has connections with the main game because, of course, it's in North America and it's part of the historical background. However, it's its own experience and definitely something very new, including for me. So I can't really tell much yet. No. It's very fresh. It's dedicated to the Vita. It's its own little story, immersed in that setting and this overall story arc of Assassin's Creed 3.
And Connor is part Native American. How does that play into the story?
So his background as a half English, half Native American is really part of the story. It's part of the conflict that he has internally. It's how he's going to discover the assassins against the Templar, and that's his motivation through the story. It's really trying to resolve that complexity of being part of the revolution, but first of all being an assassin with a motive and a goal that's much bigger than the revolution itself.
It seems to me from all the videos I've seen from the game so far that he takes like a central part in the revolution, that it becomes sort of like a leader. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. He's going to interact with some of the key leaders. You noticed Washington, and there will be Benjamin Franklin and a few other well-known games. The assassins usually act in the background, so he's not the main character driving the revolution. And his main motivation is to hunt Templars, and there will be Templars as well that are on the American side. So it's not just against the British that he's going to act. It's really much more complicated than that, with a struggle for power and political games at that time that were pretty complex.
We also see him taking part in huge battles. How will that work?
So in previous events, Bunker Hill was announced, so you probably saw these gameplay trailers with huge scenes and massive armies on these hills. That's very, very impressive. It's also part of this Unreal Next engine that we are talking about, the ability to have so many characters on screen and acting at the same time. So there will be epic battles, and they are tied to historical moments of the revolution, and that's part of the fantasy. It's really being tied to history and political games and in the background.
And about the sea battles, which is brand new. Tell me a bit about that.
So the sea battles are a little bit our jewel here, because we are developing this side of the game from Ubisoft Singapore, and I'm from Ubisoft Singapore. The revolution and most of the epic battles back then were happening not only on land but also on sea. So what is critical is to reproduce as close as possible what the reality was back then. And why was the ocean and boats so important, and all the naval activities, is because that's where the supplies and also armies would come from, right, from the old continent. So we wanted to capture this. So the naval battles will happen along the North American coast as well as the Caribbean, and the stakes behind that are supplies, hunting Templars, and you know, all the stakes of these reinforcements coming from the old continent.
Will it be an integrated part of the main story, or will it be more like side missions?
No, it is part of the, you know, it's such a big deal that it is part of the main story, and it plays a large role in the game for sure.
The sort of mini games that were introduced in Revelations, not all of them worked that great. Are you confident that this will integrate into the Assassin's Creed experience well enough?
The naval is really something that's going to blow people away. We already have amazing feedback from the fans, and it is not a mini game or what we call exotic gameplay. It's really part of the missions and of what happened really in the history of the revolution.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.